Okay, we will start our webinar now. Warm welcome to everybody. I'm Anuraherath. I'm the secretary of the association, and I have this great pleasure of moderating this webinar today. And we really appreciate your keen participation. And we have, I think, close to about 100 participants from all over the world. And thank you so much for joining us. And also thank you, Dr. Lal Fernando, for your kindness in joining us at this webinar. And before starting proper, please let me remind all of you of a couple of housekeeping items which will be of help to everyone. First of all, we are going to record the entire webinar, and the video of the recording will be later on available on our website. So anybody who wants to have a listen can do so. And secondly, I'm requesting all of you to please put your microphone off. And also, I think the video of your device is also off so that the presentation quality will be better. And presenter can present with without any noise, background noise, and so on. So it'll be good for all of us if you can put your microphone off and the video off during the presentation. And when it comes to the question time, we can keep our microphone on for the person who wants to put any questions. Then the last point is that while Dr. Lal Fernando is presenting the main presentation, you can pencil down your questions or comments, and there'll be a time for you to present your questions and comments later on. We will give enough time for that. So until such time, you can just keep your questions down. And my last message is that you can see the structure of Dr. Lal's presentation, and he will be talking on these different topics, what you can see. And also, I think he will address some of the questions that has already been sent to him, because we got some questions from some of the participants. So he will be addressing those questions as well. And at the end of his presentation, then we will have this question and answer session to take your questions. So thank you very much. And I hope all of you will enjoy this very important and very informative webinar. Thank you. Over to our president, Nimal. Thank you.
As most of you may not know who we are and what we do, I'd like to spend a couple of minutes to introduce our active association. Alumni Association of University of Peradeniya, Ottawa chapter was founded in 2011, about 10 years ago. Now our membership has grown to nearly about 100. Our main objective, foster friendship among alumni and the Sri Lankan community at large, and help the university's education programs through scholarships, special financial supports for needy students. We administer our scholarships through our parent Alumni Association in Sri Lanka. Then help the newcomers when they come here and to settle down from the very beginning. Then we donated research equipment and books, computers. Then we also, some of our members conducted short courses, seminars at University of Peradeniya, and also other universities. Sources of funds for these activities come from mainly donations by members and friends in the Sri Lankan community, and some corporate sponsorships. and some fundraising through activities, through social and cultural activities open to our community in Ottawa. We used to have about 5 events. Unfortunately, this year we couldn't have any of those. So I also like to thank our members at large for their general support and participation. Then that's about briefly our association. Then I like to thank our presenter, Dr. Lal Fernando, for being here today, accepting our invitation to make this happen. Then I also like to thank our sponsor, particularly Mr. Sarath Amarkon from Mahavadi Trading Incorporated MTI Groups, for his generosity. Then I also like to mention we have come a long way within the past 10 years or so, thanks to the effort of our members of the past executive committees and volunteers under the former presidents, Dr. Nimal Ratnayaka, Dr. Sangedi Sidla, and Dr. Dhammika Herath. I also like to thank our present executive committee, Premaratna Tennakon, Vice President, Anura Herath, Secretary, Thuradeva Ratnayaka, Dayani Mohottalage, Renuka Subasinghe, Aruni Herath, Kanti Dayas, Asoka Vidyaratna, Achini Adhikari, Suswanta Mohottalage, and Dhammika Herath, our immediate past president. Also, I like to thank for the webinar support, mainly our webinar coordinator, Susanta Mohottalage, and the moderator and our present secretary, Anura Herath. And with the web graphics support, Deepani Vaidyaratne, and Zoom tech support today, Manoj De Silva. So thank you all again for your participation and interest. Hope you all find the webinar useful and enjoyable. So stay tuned for our future such efforts, and we will keep you informed. And I wish you stay safe, happy, healthy, and happy. So with this, I like to invite Dr. Nimal Ratnayaka, our founding president, to introduce our speaker today, Dr. Lal Fernando.
Thank you, Nimal. Good morning, everyone, and good evening, our participants from Sri Lanka. Thank you all for joining us today. I am honored to be able to introduce our guest speaker today, Dr. Lal Fernando. I have known Dr. Lal Fernando for the last 48 years. We first met in 1971 at the Peradeniya University as residents of Jayatilaka Hall. Over the last, I would say, 40 years, I have had a pleasure of knowing a very kind-hearted person and cheering him on through his many successes and accomplishments. I am happy to share a few of his milestones with you today. Lal grew up in Kandy, attended Trinity College, entered the medical school at Peradeniya in 1971, and completed his MBBS degree in 1975. In Sri Lanka, his first appointment as a doctor was at Paduka Hospital. He worked there for a couple of years and later moved to UK and graduated from the University of Leeds with a master's degree in psychiatry. I remember him commenting that he found the weather in Leeds a bit depressing, and so he took the initiative to make a change and moved with his family to Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada in 1984. Here in Halifax is where he met and closely associated with some of our Peradeniya alumni, notably our current president, Nimal, and his wife, Shanta De Silva, Lakshman and Kanti Dayas, Kumudini and Martin Nicholas, and me and my wife, Udula. Lal continued to develop professionally and obtained his certification as a specialist of psychiatry from Dalhousie University in 1985. Soon after, he moved to Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. After working there for 2 years, Lal and family settled in Windsor, Ontario in 1987. In Windsor, his new practice was focused on the interface between brain chemistry and psychiatric medications as he moved away from conventional psychiatric practice. Lal established the Windsor Memory Clinic to diagnose and treat early Alzheimer and the Adult Attention Deficiency Clinic. As you can see, Lal has done exceptionally well in his professional life, helping his community. He also excels in many hobbies and interests. Lal enjoys spending time with his family, gardening, golfing, and participating in other sports. He also loves traveling. Some of his memorable moments include hanging out with polar bears in Churchill, Canada, walking with lions in Zambia, fishing in the Amazon River in Peru, and visiting hospitals in Kenya and Tanzania. My understanding is that Lal is a firm believer that we should never forget our roots and those who guided or help us reach our goals. As such, he is ever so grateful for his teachers at Trinity College, Kandy for the early education, teachers at the Peradeniya Medical School, the physician consultants he worked with, his parents, family and friends, staff, and his patients. Thank you. And now I invite Lal to take the floor. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, Canada, USA. Good afternoon, UK. Good evening, Sri Lanka, India, Malaysia. And sorry to wake you up in Australia. So I'm having a nice glass of cold water. Maybe my friends in other places are having a whiskey or beer or whatever. And in Australia, if you are drinking at this time, you have an alcohol problem, okay? Need to get some help then. So, Nimal already thanked the committee, so I'm not going through that again. I mean, these folks have done amazing work. They spent long hours and weeks putting it together. And just a quick word, and most of us who are in the committee and others, we were at the Peradeniya campus. If you look at the most beautiful campuses in the world, so we have the University of BC in beautiful Vancouver, Canada. We have the University of Colorado in USA, in the base of the Rockies Mountain. We have the famous University of Cambridge in England, the University of Melbourne in Australia, the Institute of Science in India, in Bangalore, and of course, Peradeniya campus. Those of us who are there are privileged. Sometimes when we are in a certain place, we don't get the beauty of it. But when you look at it from now, it's amazing property. We have 760 acres of land in the backdrop of the Hantana Mountains, the beautiful Mahawali River, and of course, majestic trees that's been there for 200, 300 years. And if ever you go there, the buildings are just amazing. It's an architectural delight. So it's one of the highlights of my life to have been in that campus. You already have the program details, so I'm not going through all that. But you know what? I'm obsessional about timing. This is a huge topic. And strangely enough, I talked enough about ADD and Alzheimer's, never on this one. So we'll do our best and try to finish by 10:45. And the important thing here is we try to keep it a little interactive as much as possible, informal. It's not a lecture. You don't have slides. I'm not going to ask you questions to test your knowledge at the end of it. That's all good news. But at the end of it, it's good if we all leave with some information, right? Something new, knowledge-wise, on this beautiful Sunday morning, at least here. So that's what I told my friends to have a notepad if you want to take some notes, but there'll be a recorded version down the road. And furthermore, this is all 100% confidential, and we'll go through some Q&As at the end of it, or sometimes in between. Now, if I talk about alcohol or some problem, no one should take it personal, because all of us have some problems, including me, I guess, stress levels. So it's nothing personal, okay? And everything is confidential. So we'll see how it goes. And I also devised in between to take a little break in between here and there, a list from A to Z, A, B, C, D, and so on. And for each letter, I put a couple of things that I'll discuss that is relevant to the stress levels and how to manage. So let's start with the origins of stress. Stress is a phenomenon, okay? I mean, I don't think there's anyone in the world who's not stressed out. In fact, I got a couple of priests in my practice who come with ADD. They also have stress. Some of them even see counselors. So none of us are immune from stress. It all depends on how you look at it, how you handle it, what are your strategies, and what's your response, okay? So the big areas of stressors I have grouped in: physical, social, mental. Physical stressors are kind of a no-brainer. You know why? Because if you have a long-standing illness, however much you look at it, it's not easy. Look at this. I had a 23-year-old. By the way, in between my talk, I will just chip in some things about a patient or my personal experience, because that makes it interesting rather than just rattling off all these subjects that most of us know. So in any event, so my patient, who was a 28-year-old woman, she was having ADD, and these patients respond well to meds, okay? That's what I like them. They come to see me like every 6 months, things like all kinds of medications help. However, here she was doing very well, a businesswoman, very active, good lifestyle, doing marathons, playing hockey, and so on. Then guess what? She had some headaches. Now we don't have to get worried. All of us who have headaches, I don't want you guys to get stressed out, because most headaches are innocent, okay? Guess what? Her MRI revealed a tumor of her brain, which took 12 hours to be removed. And then she's left with mild paralysis, numbness, her speech. I mean, I get devastated if I hear something like that. And just imagine this person trying to deal with it. However much clever you are, have a good lifestyle, spiritually connected, if that's the way, that's a tough one. So my point is, any person with a sudden illness, you are wonderful today and next time you are different. In fact, all of us can have a fall. We might be in good shape and it can mess your life. It doesn't need to be from the top of a tree or from a roof. It could be from a chair. You hit your back at a bad spot. You end up with pain all the time. Then you feel miserable. Then you go on sick leave and so on and so forth, right? So it need not be cancer. It can be a simple thing. Things like chronic pain. Have you heard of that condition? You know, it doesn't matter where the pain comes from. Can be from lower back, can be fibromyalgia, can be diabetic pain, neuropathy. But at the end of the day, some of these patients live with pain 24/7. That's not easy, however much you look at it. Then conditions like MS, Parkinson's. Look at Parkinson's. It's a sad condition. Your whole body is like in a cage, and it can happen in younger people. People like Muhammad Ali, he got Parkinson's, and your whole system gets like in a. Just imagine for a moment if you are in a state like that. Your speech, your movements, and it's very difficult however much you look at it, right? And of course, other physical things. Of course, a child getting sick, sudden illness, and of course, death. Like accidents, right? I mean, you're having a good life, you're driving, some person comes and crashes onto you, not your fault, and anything can happen. And they move on. And then you're stuck with disability. Let's go to the next group, which is mental. Remember, we just went through physical, now it's the mental area. Mental illness can be transient or it can be long-standing. Transient ones, we know, going through grief, or you have a situation where you lose your job, some situation like that, but you can bounce back. But if you have what is called persistent mental illness, things like schizophrenia, bipolar, it's not easy, because despite treatment, medications, just like diabetes, it can go up and down, right? And then you get sick and then you crash, some people get hospitalized. It's very difficult for the patient and for the family. That's called caregiver stress. Even conditions like depression, where it's an illness, not just feeling sad because of some situation. And of course, my Alzheimer clinic. I'm sure all of you have someone known with Alzheimer's, dementia. It's a devastating condition. The patient says, I can remember what happened 40 years ago, not last night. I opened the fridge, I don't know why I opened. Now, guys, don't get worried. It happens to all of us. Open the fridge, we don't know what to take out, but that's not Alzheimer's. So it's a kind of a condition that grows on. That's also difficult to cope with. So then we come to the social origins of stress. We did the physical, we did the mental, social. That's a broad group. And it's like what we have the virus now. I know it's medical, but it's turned the world upside down. But what are the common ones socially? Think of it this way. Anyone who's around with you most of the time, if it goes well, that's cool. If not, it can affect you. Like your partner, your family, your workplace, your boss, your home. You know, if there's a flood, or look at California. I'm sure you must have seen the pictures on TV. It's devastating. You have $1 million home or whatever home, and next day when you come, it's all gone. We get stressed out. I get stressed out if I lose my driver's license. No big deal. You can go and get another one, but it stresses you out, or someone breaks into your car or the basement. Look at it that way. You go the next day, these people, nothing there. I ask myself, how these people even come on CNN and talk about it? You know, I won't be able to do it, but they do, and then they say, we are going to build a house again. It's amazing, that kind of mindset. Even a simple like your transport, right? See, some people have to drive in Toronto, for instance. The highways are blocked, and 1 hour drive, that can be stressful. But look at it this way. Some people in poor countries have to walk to workplace. You think that's easy? But they laugh and still go. So in the bottom line is, of course, you need finances, okay? Some kind of finances to get by. But it all helps if you have a good car in running shape, because if it breaks down, you go to work, you get stressed out. A good partner, good boss, and work. But sometimes, say, some of my patients who work for people abroad in Canada and US, our Detroit, the next door, we have the big three car companies, okay, the GM, Chrysler, and Fords, and we share. Now, Chrysler line, where they make the vans, these people work amazing in the line because one van per minute or something like that. So you get paid well, good benefits, but some of them get burnt out. Same kind of work, keep on going, but they look at it by way of salary and benefits and they're happy. But if someone is unhappy working there, then you got to think twice and see, where am I going? Am I going to be in this for the next 30 years and be unhappy and get burnt out and get depressed, or do I have to go to another job? One thing we know for sure, Chrysler won't change, the line won't change, and that's what you see. So you got to make some adjustments. And all of us sometimes in life, we had to do some soul searching and see, where am I going? Am I happy with my life? Sometimes it's not easy. Because you might say, I don't like my job, but if there are no other jobs, what do you do? Look at what's happening now in the world. I can talk in Windsor. If you own restaurants, these are the most hardworking people. They work like crazy. And now restaurant is gone. Whatever help you get from the government is not easy. People are crying, laying off. Some of the restaurants, there is like a family. Eh? So you have about 10, 15 workers, servers. It breaks their heart to let them go. Look at US. Some of the people who never went to a food bank, they're all lined up in cars sometimes to get provision. So it's not easy. But on a positive note, I'm sure we'll bounce back. Don't know exactly when. So we take a little pause here and I go through this alphabet thing for a second. Let's start with the letter A. Actually, if you Google for any of these letters, there might be 20,000 words starting with A. Nice, right? Beginning of the alphabet. I love the English language because it's pretty straightforward. Now there are other languages like Chinese, long letters, long words, reading from front to end and all kinds of stuff, but it's easy. So I have picked some words going by this alphabet that will talk a lot about stress and other things, but in a simple word. So I'm trying to keep it simple. For A, I said anger. Okay, all of us get upset. Even priests get upset. Politicians get upset. I guess most of the time. I have realized that I have come to a position that people do all kinds of things, meditation, go to church, go to temple, go to the mosque, all that is fine. But still some of these people get angry because that's a human reaction, right? So I have come to a state that most things in my life won't make me angry. So I try, if at all possible, never to raise my voice, talk softly. But what are the things that upset? See, I told you I'm going to give personal examples too, because what's the point in lecturing if I do something different, right? None of us are perfect. What are the things that make me angry? Child abuse, no excuse. Human abuse, even verbal abuse. What is that about? And of course, abusing the environment, right? Because we all have to care for our planet. So controlling anger is a big thing. And of course, we can do it in various ways. Go to the next letter quickly, B. Hey, there are two big things about B. One is B. All kinds of people come with various things that upset you and you got to kind of filter it. Not easy, right? So much of stuff going on in the world. The other one is interesting. That is the bed that we sleep in. B-E-D. It's nice if you have a comfortable bed. I'll come to that later. Sleep is so important, folks, because if you don't get sleep, you feel cranky the next day. So it's good to have a nice mattress. Some of these things are pretty expensive, I guess. Comfortable room. Some people like music and so on and so forth. But that is so important. But look at it this way, again, to talk something personal. We might complain about the noise or the mattress and so on and so forth. So when I visited the Maasai in Kenya, and Himba in Namibia. These people live in little huts, mud, clay floor, a mat, and about 5 people in the home. They are still laughing, smiling, looking happy. So that is why we have to keep things in context, right? We have all kinds of complaints, but we got to keep it real. So let's go to the next area, which is stress, the manifestations, and the implications. What do you mean by the word manifestations? In medicine, it means symptoms. Okay, if someone has a urine infection, UTI, you will obviously have burning when passing urine a lot, fever, and so on. So then you diagnose, do the urine check and other checks, and say you have a urine tract infection, UTI. So likewise, stress manifests in various ways. Let's start with the obvious one, the mental manifestations of stress. At the beginning, these people who are stressed out, at the beginning it can be transient, but if it's continuous, they can get unhappy, they can get irritable and a little angry, start worrying, they can be sleepless, and of course it takes a toll on your confidence, okay? The physical symptoms of stress is fairly straightforward, not simple as it sounds. Easy to remember, it can affect you from head to toe, remember that. So people can get headaches, lightheadedness, dry mouth, chest discomfort, stomach turning, that kind of thing. And of course, some people get palpitations, which is fast heartbeat. And of course, people even faint when their stress levels go up, or your mind goes blank, that kind of thing, right? Social manifestations, mostly by way of conflicts, arguments with your partner, at workplace, and also the stress can lead to poor decisions. Even driving a car, you might meet with some accident or take a wrong turn, get a traffic ticket from the cops, that kind of thing. And we go to the next area, which is, I think our speed is not too fast. I try to keep it like this if possible. So what are the consequences of stress? A minute ago, we looked at the manifestations. How does it show? So if the stress is not addressed, not fixed, not controlled, what happens? Mentally, you can get sick. I think you can see the little brain I have here. The good news is this is not my brain. It's hopefully larger than this. And so it's, you know, we have done enough research on the heart, on the lungs, kidneys, and so on. Brain is the last frontier. Folks, people are working on it. Long time ago, we were in the dark zone. So now we have things for Parkinson's, stuff for MS, not perfect, stuff for depression, mental illness, and so on. So if you look at so all our actions and decisions controlled by the brain. What an amazing organ. Sometimes we don't think too much about our organs, right? Like the liver. People go on drinking, and luckily for us, liver is a large organ. So it can take quite a bit of trauma. Likewise, brain, that's why even after some surgical operations like removing a tumor, you can survive depending on what area the tumor was and the skill of the surgeon and the team. So if you look at the frontal lobe, that deals with the cognition. That's what I do with the Alzheimer's. What are called the executive functions. The limbic system in the middle deals with moods. And of course, all other areas, even we are eating, you're sleeping, sexual drive, and all these kind of things. So the stress goes on, it takes a toll on the brain. And how does it show? People get depressed, end up with nervous breakdowns, needing medications, I'm sure you are familiar. There's a condition called panic disorder. What happens there? You get very, very anxious, and then your heart goes racing. Then you think you are getting a heart attack. Then you go to the emergency. They do EKG and say it's normal. So some of these patients go in circles. There's nothing wrong with the heart. It's the brain that's doing that. External stress, working on the brain chemicals, and it works on the heart. The heart starts racing. You think you are going to crash, and you go in that loop. Panic disorder. It can be very devastating, because if it goes on like that, they go from doctor to doctor because their stomach can turn, they get dizzy, so they're seeing a couple of neurologists, other specialists, and someone says maybe you should go to a psychiatrist. But it can be fixed with treatment. That's the good news. Then, sad to say, the worst examples, the worst sequelae of mental complications is what? Homicide and suicide. I'm sure you heard of stories like in US and other parts of the world. Someone goes to a McDonald's parking lot or your place of work and starts shooting people. And often the friends say, hey, the nicest guy I know of, this is shock. Why? He was laid off, or his wife was fooling around with someone, that kind of thing, and then he loses it. It was never planned, and that's the worst scenario. And of course, personally, suicide, people get depressed. It's a terrible situation. So it can happen to anyone, but more with mental and physical illness. What are the physical consequences of stress? Quite a number of things can happen. So it can lead to hypertension, and if that happens, you might end up with a stroke. If you are stressed out, all of us handle differently to stress, right? Some people get impulsive and start eating junk food. It's like a comfort thing, right? So you eat food, you feel better, or you start drinking, you feel better, but it doesn't end there, it goes on. So if you start eating more, you get obese, and then you can get diabetic. You can get stomach problems if you are so anxious, like colitis. I'm sure all of us had to some extent, stomach turning, diarrhea, and all that stuff. And for some patients, it goes on and on. Then, of course, all these, if you add to it, guess what? Can lead to premature death. What are the social consequences of stress? I'm sure, in the Zoom format, it's a little difficult, because if I did this live, you can take Q&As and a little bit interaction. Here is as if I'm just delivering a lecture, but we intervene in between. The social implications of stress can be devastating. It can ruin families, separation, divorce. If you get stressed out at the job and you go on sick leave and some other kind of leave, you can lose your job or get fired. Then your finances get affected. You can end up with bankruptcy. Then you are drinking and stressed and driving. You meet with an accident. And then it all takes a big toll. We will quickly look at the couple of my other letters in the alphabet. Let's go to the letter C. Nice letter C. But how it applies to us is this thing called control. I like that word, control. Bad control is bad. If someone is like a bad boss you have, that's bad news. But what happens to us is we got to maintain control. It's like going in a car, cruise control. How cool. Here we got to control our impulses, our eating habits, our spending habits, our anger. So always remember, guys, at the end of the talk, if there's one letter, you go with C. So we try to gain control through various means. Our efforts, meditation and stuff like that. keeping a tab on your expenses, and so on and so forth, right? The other C word is, the bad word is complainers. I'm sure you know people who complain all the time. At your workplace, you know, there are some people who say, oh, that's not my job, Dr. Fernando. Okay, I got it. Because all of us have, at least in North America, these what are called job descriptions. Some of the job descriptions are amazing. There are about 50 things you are supposed to do. And people just go by the letter. But most people are friendly, accommodating in workplaces. But there are people who always complain. And you can complain about anything. Like, oh, it's not good, my food is cold, the coffee is not has enough sugar, the bacon is done too bad, and steak is too well done, so on and so forth, right? Again, going by my personal experience, and I'm sure you guys have enough experience. So that's why whenever I travel, you know, it's not just for the fun of it, you got to learn something, and then that image sticks in you forever. So when you're in the Amazon in Peru, you see what are called the river people. These are the people who live by the side of the river. You don't see any shops, no malls, no doctors. There's a fellow called a medicine man, but that's another story. And these kids are still smiling. What do they eat? They eat fish in the morning, fish at lunch, and fish at dinner. Luckily, they have enough fish in the Amazon River. One child I saw, she was holding on to a chicken, and the chicken had the eggs tied. I asked the guide who was with us, why your the chicken leg is tied is bad for the bird? He said, brother, in case it runs away, that's it. Okay, and then they slaughter a cow, I think like every 3 months or so if there's a wedding. So how many complaints these people can have? I'm sure they have complaints, but so you got to keep it in that context, right? Look at the Syrian refugees who came to our countries, Canada, US, and other countries. What kind of life was that? They were doing so well, and all these things happened. Their kids died, and here they come with a bunch of kids, no English, and start life again. But still, some of them are smiling, and they are so grateful they came to Canada and US and elsewhere. So we started at 10:30, and now we are going here 11:15. Okay. The stress. The next part is the response. See, we all respond to life in various ways, okay? Example, if you are encountered with an animal or some dog who's chasing you or a bear, we respond in various ways. In the simplest way, if there's something like a hurricane coming to New Orleans, they had about 10 hurricanes in the last 5 years, no joke. People respond in various ways. Some people just take off, you see all those cars lined up in the highway. Some other guys say, no, I'm going to stay here. Last time I survived, I'll board up my house and hope for the best. So we all respond differently. And the response to stress depends on various factors. First of all, it depends on what kind of person you are, which is called the personality. You know our friends who are always the worrying type. Nothing wrong with that, but they are like that, okay? Then, of course, there are people who also think negative. If you get a phone call, you think it's Revenue Canada, the tax department, and then you find it's from Nigeria, okay? Fake call. So you can think positive, you can think negative, and part of it also comes from our genes. So if the dad was a worrying type, the son also can be like that. So nothing can be done about it except that you have to adapt to it and maybe get some help. Then there are cultural factors, folks. Different cultures respond to stress differently. Look at a place like Bangladesh. It's nothing personal, it just came to my mind. Sometimes they have all these floods and people lose their homes, but still life goes on, and that stuff is not easy. If you look at pain, just say I have my friends who are OBGs and delivering a baby, childbirth. You think that's easy? For guys, it may be difficult to understand, but that pain is crucial. I mean, not crucial, it's terrible pain. And patients, so some cultures respond to pain by scream and shouting. It might be uncomfortable for the doctor, but that's the way the patient gets it out. Other people keep it to themselves. Same thing like if you attend funerals, different cultures, different people respond differently. Like for instance, the British. I was very impressed when I worked there for 4 years, and I love that country, but still for all here we are in Canada. They keep their emotions to themselves, mostly. That doesn't mean they don't care about you or they're pretending. No, 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 no. They don't scream and shout and cry. They can feel sorry, but they keep it themselves, right? If you watch some of the news broadcasts or the social media, have you seen like sometimes the parents come talking about their daughter, like 18, who was killed the previous day? Killed by some kind of accident or some kind of trauma. So sometimes when I watch with my wife, I tell her, I mean, how can these people come the next day and talk about the daughter who died? Or most of us will never be able to do that and keep a straight face without breaking down, right? They are going through grief, but they say we should do this for the benefit of others and so on. So there are cultural factors, how you respond to pain. Then it also depends, your response also depends on your status, right? Like someone who is financially very well off, if he has some losses, he can handle it. But another guy who's taking from day to day, like paycheck to paycheck, if they have a little financial difficulty, it's a big thing for them. So it depends on your background. And of course, it's good to be in good health, right? People in good health can handle quite a few things. Let's quickly go through a couple of other things. In the alphabet, E is for environment. So we are all for saving the environment and so on, folks. But be careful of what you hear. Don't ever listen to the Hollywood types who are, except a few of them, they come and talk in the United Nations, all big stuff about climate change. Then they get on the private plane and fly somewhere. So how can you believe anyone like that? But climate change and environment, we all got to be aware of it. F is for the F word, which I'm not going to say today, but that's also nice stuff. Huh? We don't say it all the time. We try not to say it in front of our kids. But you get out your emotions as long as the other person doesn't kill you. G is for grief, which we went through. It's not easy. I like the word I, the letter I. I is for independence. Isn't that an amazing concept, independence? I talk from here in Canada, you guys are in England and India. Sometimes we don't think. Look what China is doing in Hong Kong. You think that's easy for people in Hong Kong? You see them screaming and shouting and they're all rounded up. I'm not criticizing China, they do amazing things. But I'm just telling you, sometimes people like, I teach in my university, but some of the universities lecturers, you know, they talk as if they are in love with communist countries like Russia, Cuba, and so on. They're also nice countries. I've been there. But will they live there? No. So it's very easy to lecture the others, but you got to do what you had to do, like walk the walk, talk the talk. Okay? Independence is priceless. Independence also affects personally. Say we all get old, right? Senile. Everything becomes a challenge, even if you're in good shape. Hearing, vision, walking, people die around you. So, and then you might have to quit driving because it may be unsafe. So none of us like to lose independence. And of course, finally, you might end up in a retirement home, nursing home. You think that's fun? J is for joy, like feeling happy. Nothing like children, right? They don't lie, and if they smile, it's a blessing. In fact, Long time ago, I remember in Sri Lanka when I was thinking of doing OBG and medicine and psychiatry and all this stuff, my pediatrician, who was an amazing man, said, Lal, what's your plan in life? I said, you know what? I am keeping an open mind. I might do A, B, C, and D. He said, my advice to you, do only two things. Like what? I said, be a pediatrician or be a vet. I thought for a moment and I said, how come? He said, you know why? Children don't lie. They tell the truth. They smile. They are grateful. They don't come with you with a bunch of forms and say, Dr. Fernando, I want to go on disability. Put me on sick leave. No. So what about vet? Animals. Hey, joy to the world. And of course, they bite you sometimes, I guess. But they are fun. So animals also don't make tick you off. K is for kindness. That is amazing, isn't it? Actually, I got two words for K. Kindness is the first one. See, now when you see people, looks can be deceptive, but kindness is an amazing concept. Why do you think people feel so relaxed when they see a Buddha statue in Aukana, Sri Lanka, or Jesus in any of these churches? See, I'm kind of independent in my religious beliefs. However, like most of you guys, when you go to Rome, if you go to St. Peter's Basilica and look at Pieta with Mother Mary holding Jesus, Michelangelo did that amazing sculpture when he was 23. Genius. One piece of marble. So what's my point? That whole structure depicts, apart from amazing talent of Michelangelo, that kindness. You can keep on staring for hours and hours and be just blown away with it. Same with Mona Lisa, right? When you go to the Louvre in Paris. Da Vinci. What a masterpiece. That smile. People say, what does it mean? What was going through the artist's mind? And people keep on staring for hours. So that kindness is not just by way of words, by looks, and what it comes from your heart, right? And all of us, of course, try to be kind, but here and there we all lose it. I get it. The other word beginning with K is, I look at my partner next to me, my wife, kitchen. Hey, couple of things, whether you like it or not, you got to have peace in the bedroom, peace in the kitchen. Otherwise, it won't work. It's nice to have a good kitchen. It need not be too fancy, but you know, because we spend quite a lot of time in the family room, kitchen, and bed and all that. So, and of course, making meals is not easy. We can't take it for granted. L is for listening. Isn't that an amazing concept? Listening. Listen, L-I-S-T, and listen. That's why, folks, we got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you talk. Most of us are not perfect. We want to put our point across. That's why we interrupt and get angry and raise the voice and all that stuff. If you look at the most amazing people in the world, they are good listeners. Look at Bill Gates. Just when you look at the guy, he's done so much. He recently gave $125 million for the virus. And he has his own charity. He doesn't do Microsoft work now. It's the Bill Gates Foundation. So soft-spoken, not opinionated. Like people in Facebook and Twitter, they are not into politics and trying to control the world, right? Just keeping it cool and neat. And you don't see the guy talking and talking. He doesn't come even on the talk shows, right? Really, you see the guy on television. M is for music. Isn't music a joy? Talk of my friends in Ottawa who I met in Halifax, like Nimal, Sri, Lakshman. We used to go to their home and kind of have a jam session with people playing the guitar and all that stuff. Music is an amazing concept. It's good if you play instruments. Sadly, I don't do. but people play the piano, the guitar, and it gives you so much of happiness. And I'm sure all of us have gone to a concert at some point, right? Even if you get stressed out, folks, that's what I do. I also get stressed out, of course. Think of a moment in Peru or in Kenya and just try to get it connected. Likewise, think of a moment you had in a concert. Long time ago, I went to see Ravi Shankar in Detroit, next door. I think me and my friend, we were the only two brown guys in the audience. That's also strange because I guess Indian people have seen enough of him, but you could hear a pin drop. The talent was just amazing. In February, I was with my daughter seeing Garth Brooks in Ford Field in Detroit. Our neighbor, takes 20 minutes to go. 20,000 people. That was before the virus, guys. 20,000 people. Okay, and when he sings, "Give Me Another Pina Colada," the whole crowd, all of us singing with it. It's like seeing someone from another planet. So that's what music does. Oh, someone like Lady Gaga, what a talent. So it doesn't matter, it could be rap. We went to see Eminem and Rihanna, amazing concert. So it doesn't matter what music it is, classical music, jazz, we go across the stream. I think music helps all of us. And that's why some people, just to relax, they listen to some music, right? I think we are doing okay, like 11:30 or so. And we can take Q&As in a minute. I'm almost finishing. So then you might say, Lal, what are the fixers for all these things? It's good you tell me all these things. What are the fixers? Okay, very important. Number one is the physical fixers. What do you think is the physical fixers? It's nice to have a good lifestyle. It's nice to watch your diet. Do some exercise half an hour every day if you can. It's not easy, right? You put on weight, then you try to diet, then you get miserable. So I tell my patients too, there are all kinds of fancy diets. People make millions and millions of dollars on promoting all kinds of diets. I'm sure you know this stuff, but let me repeat. Keep it simple. Regular meals, small portions, avoid snacking, avoid too many carbs, even things like rice and bread which you love. Not, but that doesn't mean you have to starve and you only have to eat salads morning till night. No. So small portions and spread the meals, but take regular meals. Then of course, all of us who are getting older, avoiding falls. One fall can mess you up. Then you have to keep a tab on your BP, very important, blood pressure. There's a lot of hype about cholesterol. It's been there forever, and in Asians it can be somewhat high. You can't ignore it, but for me, the top ones are the sugar and the blood pressure. And of course, like annual physical, even doctors, sometimes you forget. Vaccines, and if you need medications, you take them. It's pointless skipping them. All of us skip, in fact, right? What are the most popular pills in the world? Things like metformin, old as it is, for diabetic control, Lipitor for cholesterol, blood pressure pills, all kinds of vitamins people take. But folks, don't take too many vitamins because it's also a business, and essential ones that you take, or like a multivitamin. Calcium, don't take too much calcium, you'll end up with stones. But don't be afraid to take meds, because I have some friends, I like them because they want to be natural, and it's okay to go natural, but if your blood pressure is high, you've got to take something to bring it down, okay? Otherwise you end up getting a stroke. And last of all, make sure that you get adequate sleep. Whoever who sleeps well is not a happy person. And if you need some medications to help with your sleep, you take it. You don't take it in the first instance, obviously. You try to calm down and all that stuff. And what are the mental fixers? Very important. Mental fixers for stress, relaxation techniques. People do meditation, gardening, yoga, Zumba, running, walking, sports, music, the whole deal, right? But the idea is to have some kind of structure. If you can do like half an hour every day, that's fine. But it's not easy as it sounds, right? A woman who has about 3 little kids jumping around, It's okay to tell her you spend half an hour listening to music, but it's not that easy. But at least when you can do it, get it done. And also things like planning a vacation if you can afford, or to go somewhere. Actually, it need not be faraway places. You can go to a park next door, or you can go to some other place close by. And of course, socially, the fixes are, we discussed that before, folks, avoiding conflicts with your partner, at your workplace. And of course, we all know that men and women are different. So don't try to change each other. It won't work, right? We all program differently, so we all have certain characteristics, but that's the way you got to adapt to it. Sometimes we all need some time off, space. Even with you're madly in love with someone, that's great. But sometimes you need individual space. So I mostly golf with my partner, who I've been golfing for the last 20 years or so. But occasionally when he's not around, if I go alone, that's an amazing feeling too. Long time ago, when I was naive, I felt sorry for people who are golfing alone. I thought, what a life is that, golfing by yourself? Oh, no, no, no. Even if you golf alone, you have peace. No one even talking with you. You look at all the trees and the tranquility around you, so it gives you peace of mind, right? So likewise, that's why some of us always need what we call time off. Then we are getting there. So what are this is my last thing I'm going to say. We went through quite a few things, and we will take some Q&As, and then of course I also got some things that were sent to us. It's like 11:35. Okay. Take home messages. Number one, have a good lifestyle, or try to. Dieting, exercise, hobbies. Don't drink more than 2 a day. Alcohol. Getting on well with the partner, and if possible your workmates and your boss. Plan a vacation 1 year before if you can. Now with the virus and all that, we don't know how that's going. Trying to control anger. Craving. This craving is also important, right? It's like a Buddhist concept and other religions too, because we all crave for things, and then if you can't get them, you get unhappy, right? I want to get that fancy car, or I want to go on that fancy vacation, and that's okay, but you got to keep it within context. I went through the alphabet. A couple of letters I missed quickly. N is a good word. No, no. Just like yes and no. If you are put in a spot, someone wants a quick answer, my rule is no. I might decide a lot of us get into trouble by saying yes, maybe, whatever, and all that stuff. Just say no. O is for online, can be very troublesome if you have little kids, bullying and all that stuff. P is for past. Some of us are stuck in the past. Too bad, guys. We have to let go. There's a beautiful song from Taylor Swift, Shake It Off. So if you have all kinds of BS from the past, you got to put it behind. Some people just live in the past. They bring it up all the time. What can you do? You can't change some of the stuff. Most of us, like me, like to live in the past, present, now. Some of us are worried about afterlife. What's going to happen after you die? All kinds of things can happen, right? Depending on your philosophy, religion. I don't think of it because I don't have the time. Then, of course, Q is for quietness. R is for retirement. People who are getting older, it's good to plan for retirement. It's not easy. S is for sex. We are not going to talk about it because Manoj might plan a session down the road, might take about 5 hours. That's another story. T is for time. Time is very important, folks. Time is precious, okay? U is for unassuming. I'm not going there again. Unassuming is not to have a chip on the shoulder like Bill Gates. V is for the virus. Thank you, China. W is for wilderness, national parks and all that stuff, which I like. I'm sure you guys like too. Y is for yes, just like no, yes. Yes, if you're sure, you say yes. Finishing. So Z is for Zoom. Isn't that an amazing concept, right? For a change, it's not from China, it's from Japan. And of course, they have branches in US, Canada, elsewhere. The other day, I just was looking at Zoom, and guess what? In February 2020, the stock price of Zoom was something like $55 US. After the virus, like yesterday, it's $550 or $560. Unbelievable. So if someone invested on Zoom like 2 years ago, you will be a multi-millionaire today. So there's a question that's asked, is adult attention deficit disorder linked to Alzheimer's? The answer is no, but I can understand the question because both ADD and Alzheimer's is interesting because I do both those clinics. Both have a genetic origin. Obviously, ADD starts in your childhood. If not, it's not ADD, whether it was diagnosed or not. Alzheimer's, as you all know, starts mostly after 60, but sometimes after 55. So both have a genetic origin, but if you have ADD, it does not mean you get Alzheimer's. There's no connection, okay? Then someone also had asked whether mindfulness, that is being aware of thoughts, help to cut down the stress levels. 100% yes. You know, we all can't control our thoughts. They go all over the place. That's why people do meditation and so on. So that's always good to have clean thoughts, clear thoughts as much as possible, not to go in circles. Someone also had asked, is alcoholism due to anxiety and stress? And if so, how to fix it? Now, there are 10 different reasons why people can get alcoholic, including sometimes it goes in the genes, but it's mostly a social condition, but you start little and it escalates, right? So how do you know alcohol is a problem? Obviously, if you start drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning, or even if you drink twice a year, that may be so, but if you get intoxicated and then you go and assault your partner or run into problem with the cops, doesn't matter once a year, still means there was a problem. There is a problem and you want to get some help, right? So in the first instance, you talk to your family doctor, then you might see a counselor, then there are things like AA, and of course the worst cases have to check into rehab. Alcoholism is devastating because it can affect you physically, mentally, your family, and financially, and so on, right? Somebody also had asked, in times of elections and stress with misinformation, what is called fake news, how does one stay calm? Not easy, folks. There are all kinds of misinformation, but you ask yourself, who is telling the truth? Who is telling the lies? Who is offering me so many free things? There's nothing called a free lunch, okay? Somebody has to pay for it. That's okay. We had to look after the poor. We had to look after the sick. We had to look after all these people. So it's a judgment call. And then you, of course, we had to go and vote and hope that they'll do good for us. Then somebody has asked, can meditation and breathing techniques and the Buddhist concepts of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and no self kind of help to control stress? Absolutely. But then, you know, we can't tell all our patients these things because it depends on where they come from, what their belief system is. But again, the answer is what applies to you may not apply to someone else. Obviously, there are common things that help all of us, like good lifestyle, avoid too much alcohol, do exercise and all that stuff. But when it comes to individual things, if church helps you, if the temple helps you, if the mosque helps you, that's fine. If reading the Bible 3 times a day or Quran or some other text helps you, that's fine. So what helps A may not help B. So it's an individual thing, but generally good thinking, good action, good deeds, good lifestyle all help. Somebody had asked, do vitamins help with stress? We discussed this, folks. It's a big business out there, but if you get something like a multivitamin, not spend too much money on that, yes, it helps. And of course, there are vitamin deficiencies like B12, iron deficiency that can be awkward and need to be fixed. with replacement, iron therapy and B12. How to fix sleep problems. That's a big topic, folks. As I said, obviously have a decent room and bed if possible. Good lifestyle. Again, avoid too much alcohol. But sleep is so important. It's amazing how many patients, people have problems like in sleep, because all workplaces there are sleep problems, and millions and billions of dollars are spent on sick leave because of sleep problems. So sleep is so important for us. And also don't get too worried. All of us, when we get older, the sleep pattern changes. So even if you sleep 4 or 5 hours, it's okay as long as it's what is called restful sleep. You try to fall asleep within about 1 hour, and then you get up at a decent time. And the whole idea is to feel fresh when you get up in the morning. My friend from Sri Lanka, Jayant, had asked, Lal, how can you deal with stress coming from politicians? No, that's a tough one, because it depends on where you live. It's so difficult and annoying, isn't it? Most politicians make promises, and when they come, they don't keep their promises. So always ask yourself, when you look at politicians, who made the promises, who kept the promises? That's how I vote. I don't care if they say something about, oh, I like you, Lal, I'm not a racist. Who cares? I don't believe anyone who says, except my friends and family who say they love me. Okay, it's very easy to say, oh, I love you, carry the babies and make people happy. Oh, we like the black people, the yellow people. Come on, give me a break. They'll never have a beer with you, but they say these things to get votes. People will say anything to get votes, they come to power, right? And then it's a different story. Someone just asked another question, how to, not control, but how to handle kids. What an important question, folks. They say that charity begins at home. So you might say, Lal, what did you do to your kids? I gave them some advice. I said, you do what you like. Don't go on welfare, because then that's the saddest thing, unless of course you're sick or something. So if you want to be a truck driver, that's great. I have a lot of respect for them. If you want to do yard work, like gardener, landscaping, or working in the city, that's also fine. Follow your dreams. It's okay to follow your dreams, folks, but if my son said, Dad, I want to produce music. Oh, that's a good one. You might end up like Eminem, or you might end up broke, and then Dad will have to look after you. So it's a tough one. I firmly tell everyone, don't push things into your child's head. You have to be an engineer, you have to be a scientist, you have to be a doctor. Let them do what they like within certain limits. You of course give them advice. You have to keep an eye now with the online and all that stuff, who they talk to, because a lot of kids in parts of the world have got into trouble because of all this online bullying and online solicitations. You also have to keep a track of who their friends are. Very important. Some parents have no idea where their kids are spending the time, and some other parents are also cannot be a good influence. All in all, it's a tough call. We all love our kids. You mustn't spoil them by giving them, we don't believe in fancy names like Nike, Adidas. Who cares? All these people bank on China. They all say, oh, like Facebook, oh, we love you and all. Look at who their customers are, China. Do they have rights there? No. Million Muslims are locked up. People are locked up. But they don't talk bad of China. They talk bad of North Carolina. Why North Carolina? They don't have LGBTQ washrooms. What a bunch of hypocrites, right? So these are the people. So we have to protect our kids, because the social media is out of control. They try to control you with their political views, with their cultural views. So that's the way it goes. So we have LGBTQ, that's fine. My granddaughter, 5 years, the other day she was watching a cartoon. And what does the cartoon say? 5 years, not cartoon, one of these programs. It says it's okay for you to be with 2 dads and 1 mom. It's okay for you to be with 2 moms. Nothing wrong with it. Some of the lesbian couples I know are the most wonderful people. In fact, they are better than even straight couples. But see how it goes? The social media is trying to get into our kids' minds at 5 years of age. There's nothing called normal. you should be able to handle all these things. That's good because kids understand, but see where it's coming from. Am I angry about it? No. The kids all should know. But this is like a program thing coming from the higher ups. So those are my questions and answers.
I see some questions have come already, Lal.
Yes.
Okay. One question that is not that was not handled is, can or how music be combined to meditation? Combined to meditation. Can and how music be combined, I think, I suppose, with meditation, probably as a response to stress control. That's one question. It's already there. Once you respond to that, there are two participants raising their hands. I can open the floor for them.
So that's a very interesting question. Remember, I told you that we have to walk the walk and talk the talk. That means you got to be honest, right? Otherwise, some people say, "Oh, I know everything." No, I don't know everything. So my wife makes it a point to have pirit in the morning, like a a soft background, and that's got a very relaxing effect. And it's interesting. Sometime back when I visited my brother in Kandy, he lives in on the way to Gannoru on the hills. And from the valley, Mahavalley, from the other side, you get from a temple the sounds of spirit coming, right? It's got an amazing relaxing effect. It depends on how you do it. Now, if you go into the middle of Colombo and there's spirit blasting from a loudspeaker, I don't know how that can help anyone apart from feeling good that you're playing something. Come to the question, only once I tried meditation, I could not do it for more than 5 minutes. So it's difficult to answer this question. I know meditation helps, music helps, and I'm sure someone can combine it together. So as I said, both these things are internationally recognized modes of relaxation. So I'm sure it can be put together, but I cannot give the right direct answer.
So we know. Sorry, I'm not sure whether I'm pronouncing the name correct. Francis. Are you there? We know. You can unmute your mic. You can do so by clicking on the icon, the mic-like icon, and then.
I just wanted to say thank you, and it was a very comprehensive, very good presentation.
So we know. Talking from England, was in my medical school, and she and I were at the same time at the Castle Hospital for Women, which is a maternity hospital. And I think both of us were inspirations to each other. Even her voice coming through so far away has a calming effect. And a wonderful person, and thank you so much.
Okay, so I'll get another question from the list. Is ADD a form of learning disabilities? A form of learning disabilities, ADD.
It's a wonderful question because 80% of my patients have only ADD, who come to me anywhere from 16 years to maybe 60 years. ADD always has to start in childhood. It may or may not have been treated. So there are two kinds of ADD. Both are brain conditions, ADD and ADHD. H is for hyper. If you're a hyper kid, no one can miss them. Again, folks, don't get carried away. All the kids hyper need not be put on meds. We like kids to be happy. You got to medicate a child only if the grades are suffering. And these are medications that are 100% safe. You can see the grades going up. So because of ADD, the concentration is not good. They are distracted. So they might be clever. In fact, most of my ADD patients, all of them do good jobs. I got nurses, doctors, IT guys, Chrysler workers, so on and so forth. But they had struggles, and because they were clever, they had good family, they survived. So ADD people are very clever, and they don't have specific learning disabilities like math or English. Learning disorder is different. They may not have any ADD, but they have difficulty in certain areas like math, English, and so on, or it could be generalized. Occasionally, ADD goes with learning disorder. ADD is helped by medications, not learning disorder per se, right? Learning disorder is much more difficult to fix than ADD, no comparison. And sometimes the learning disorders with age, they get less. So to survive with learning disorder, it's good to have good teachers, good family. It can be frustrating. Then of course you got to see a counselor in the school and take it from there. The good news is kids with learning disorders have ended up in well in life professionally, but others not as much. So you got to keep an open mind about learning disorder.
Okay, thank you. And there's another interesting question from the list. Hi Lal, Gautama Buddha said focus on process, not outcome. That is the focus on process, not outcome. Will this help not getting stress?
That's a very complex question, really. I had to repeat it myself. You know what? This focus is good for all of us, and it's a fact. Okay, but I think they all connect. That's the way I look at it. Some others might agree. So it's all like a chain reaction, right? Most of these stimulus and impulses can start from within, like the people who worry all the time, or people who are obsessional. Everything has to be clean. You cannot drop this. You cannot drop that. That's fine. It's the person you are. So this is internal. Then you get the external influences, right? Life is not easy, folks. All kinds of influences we have, with the weather, the finances, the politicians. So you got to all filter in this. See, I showed the brain. This is amazing. That's where all it happens. And then, of course, the outcome is also important. So that is why we have to connect the dots. So that's why it's good to be religious and do all these kinds of things. So ideally, like if we say I had to give up all desire, we have to control our craving and feelings. But if I bring it to zero, how can I function? If I don't care at what time my patients come to the office, I'm very obsessional. If they have an office appointment at 10:15, my office appointments are pretty short. They are mostly on meds. I like it be 10:15 or 10:10. If it's 10:30, I feel so guilty, right? It's good because if I do obstetrics, it's a different story. So it depends on how you do it. So I always look for the outcome. And so they are kind of connected, but that's a complex question. There's no quick answer.
Yes.
Thanks, Lou. Wonderful.
Yeah, thanks, Lal. Now, actually, it's 12, but I'm sure your speech is so effective and interesting, and there are a couple of more questions, if you don't mind.
Not at all. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So let me take another one. Trade-off between being stressed out and being ambitious. So trade-off between stress out and being ambitious. If you set your bar lower than lower level of stress, what is the best strategy to address this trade-off? Did you get the question?
What a great question. I love it.
Exactly, yeah.
So, see, it depends, right? When all these good religions started like 2,000 years ago, hey, there was stress there too, but the expectations were different. Look at North America, like Canada, US. All of us are on the go. People don't have time for anything. No time. I don't have time. I don't have time. Come on, if you are really keen, you can get some time, okay? But time is precious. So, when I visit my son in Seattle, it's interesting, and he lives downtown. I see if I get up in the morning around 5:30 for some reason, the lights are on in the next building. I mean, come on. Guys come to work before sunrise. They go home, it's dark. Hardly any time to talk with family. You may make lots of money. So it all takes a toll. So if you are too ambitious, however clever you are, it takes a toll on stress. But some people are wired different, right? we know politicians and others who never take vacations. They work 10 hours a day. That's their passion. So it depends. But most of us can't handle it. So very good question. You have to get a balance between ambition and stress levels. That's why some partners, like the man or the woman, decide to stay at home to look after the kids. They say, no, I can make $100,000 going for my salary, but I want to be with my kids. What a great decision. It's a sacrifice, right? So you have to, it's like a scale. If you get too ambitious, unless you are the exception, you get too stressed out. That's why all of us, if possible, have to take a vacation also here and there just to chill out and get some space. But I like people who are ambitious. I like positive people. I like my ADD patients. Despite their challenges, they work hard. There are accountants who work in Toronto. They fly to Texas. They have ADD. They take the medicine, but they're on the go. But you need a break for all of us.
Thank you, Lal. Traffic is very high. You're getting a lot of questions. The next one, is there a connection between Alzheimer's and stress?
Interesting, isn't it? Interesting question too. The answer is no. And I'll tell you why. Because Alzheimer's is a sad condition. I had a principal come in the other day. She was a principal in a private school, very demanding in Toronto. Most of the parents are rich parents. They are very demanding. She's like 68 and she came with her sister. And, Alzheimer's diagnosis is a clinical diagnosis. You can do CAT scans, testing and all that stuff. But I get it in about 10 minutes, the way it comes through. So I asked, what's the last job you were doing? Can't remember. Isn't that terrible? You were a principal for so long. This is a ridiculous disease, okay? And it's devastating because you see the person just going down in front of you. So when they look at Alzheimer's, it doesn't matter what you did, a principal or a physician or an engineer or an IT guy or whatever. If you get Alzheimer's, you get it. Folks, bad news, you can't stop it. But if you think you are going that way, you have to get checked out. There are a couple of meds that can help, not a cure, to keep it stable. And the whole idea is, I tell my patients, they have early Alzheimer's, they are still driving. They got to have a plan. The idea is what is called quality of life. So you are 70 now. If you can be at that level for the next 20 years, you are laughing. You will never go back in time like memory comes back. But again, remember I told you about independence. The longer you can live alone at home, well, not mostly alone with a partner. Living alone is tough. So we look at the independence, the functioning, be safe with driving and all that. Those are the things we look at. So whether you control your stress or not, you can still get Alzheimer's. There are some studies that show that people who had a good lifestyle may not get Alzheimer's that much, but nothing is proven, right? And there are things like aluminum and all that stuff. All we know is it's mostly 100% genes. There are also two kinds of disease. Dementia is like an umbrella, right? One form of dementia is Alzheimer's. Whether there's something going wrong with the brain, like the brain substance decays. So the brain substance gets less, the cavity inside gets more. Okay? Then there's another thing called vascular dementia. The word vascular means blood supply. Blood supply to the brain gets less. To all of us, when we get older, because our brain is like a giant electric circuit, but there are all kinds of blood vessels, and they can get narrow with cholesterol or without cholesterol, and the blood supply gets less. Or someone can get a mini stroke. So folks, some mini strokes don't show in real life. You might have a mini stroke, get a little confused. So that's called vascular dementia. But nowadays it's difficult to differentiate vascular dementia and Alzheimer's. Mostly it's a combination of both. Doesn't matter how it starts, you end up being forgetful for recent events. And then you might ask the same question again and again. You might have trouble finding things in the house. Then of course, sad to say, there can be a change of personality, change of moods. People might cry for no reason and just be happy when you are not supposed to be happy. Then of course there's decline. And then I'm talking about the mild, okay? When you get moderate, funny things, not funny, bad things happen. People get paranoid. Mostly someone is stealing your money. Someone's breaking into my house. Someone is tapping my phone. But life can still go on. Or they might call the cops. Oh, I think someone's trying to break in. And the last stages are devastating. That's when you lose your functions. You become incontinent and someone has to look after you like a nursing home. So folks, the take home message is, I have a lot of seniors, I guess, in my group. Don't start worrying just because you open the fridge, you couldn't remember what you want to take. That's not Alzheimer's, but sometimes it starts like this. So I tell all my patients, the key thing is, that's why you need to see a specialist. Everyone with Alzheimer's is forgetful at the beginning, at least. Otherwise, you can't diagnose Alzheimer's. Everyone who's forgetful is not Alzheimer's. After 55, you can get forgetful for a couple of other reasons. High stress levels, anxiety, depression, alcoholism, and so on, right? So even if you control stress levels, that's good for all of us. If you get Alzheimer's, you get Alzheimer's. And of course, if you get early Alzheimer's, you get stressed out because it's so frustrating. I hope that will answer you to some extent.
Thank you, Lal. Super. This is a rather interesting question. There is something called good stress. Please explain.
Excellent question. Good stress, bad stress. I must ask my wife what the good stress is. She's not an example. Oh God, good stress, bad stress. I guess good stress is, say you are preparing for an exam. It's stressful, right? But you know exactly what you are doing. You have to study for it. You have to go for it. Or you go for an interview. You are trying to get a promotion or a job up there. All right. Or look at sports. You think that's easy? Look at Tiger Woods. I mean, he's one of the best golfers in the world, but every time some competition, he'll swing his club about 1,000 times. Look at the hockey players. Look at the football players. How much they practice. We all love, we see them like Vince Carter, LeBron James, but they are stressed out people because they have to depend on the performance, right? So good stress, sad to say, most stresses are bad stress. Someone going bankrupt, your partner leaving you, child falling sick, that's all bad stress, right? So the good stress is mostly the kind of stress that helps you to go up the ladder or something that's challenging. Guess what, folks? Even vacations can be stressful. Going through airports with all these TSAs and viral checks and this check and that check. So I guess to some extent it's good stress, right? You go on a long vacation. Say you go to Sri Lanka, you think that's easy? Going through Europe, another airport, quarantine now. Now that you ask about stress, look at the virus. You think that's easy? Pandemic, second wave, we don't know where it's going. Of course, vaccines are coming. Will it be 100% effective? Masks are good, but it's not 100% foolproof. There are people who got infected with the masks. Social distancing we do, but there are people who hug and scream and do all these things. They don't get infected. So what I suggest about this stress is that word, I didn't have it in my alphabet, can't have all the words. Uncertainty. That is what freaks us out. We all like to things fall in place. It's like a storm brewing, right? Uncertain. That will really stress us out where we are going. Thanks. Nice question.
Yeah, thank you, Lal. I think we need to have, the closing line. Probably we will, because there are a couple of more questions and we can probably go on till about 12:30, if that is okay with you, Lal. And then we'll close.
There's a football game at 1:30, so there's enough time.
Oh, is it? Okay. It's excellent.
No stress.
Okay. Okay, there's this question. I'm sure this will take us to a fairly, probably a long discussion, but if you like to take this, I'll just read it for the interest. How to control ego, which ultimately leads to stress?
Actually, that's a better question for someone like a psychologist who studies all these things, but I guess I should know something about ego, right? Ego is an amazing concept, isn't it? So I think our religious, spiritual leaders like Lord Buddha and Jesus and Prophet Muhammad, I don't think they had that ego thing going, right? Came natural, like a gift from God or Lord Buddha, awakening, Prophet Muhammad. But nowadays people have egos, and it's good to have an ego as long as you don't want to spill it on all others. I personally think it's good to have some ego because, uh, remember my travels like Kenya, whatever places, I'm sure they also have ego to some extent, but it's pretty low key because there's not too much competition and all that stuff. So ego is a good concept. And again, sometimes we are wired for that, right? Now look at people who are in business and so on. You got to have an ego for that. It's like a car salesman, right? I mean, unless you push it, people mostly don't buy cars. So it's a kind of a thing. It's a concept. And again, you can't change I guess you can change the ego to some extent, but you can't go and see a counselor unless you're. So it's good to have a nice ego, but as long as you don't make other people upset. That's another one of my principles, right? You must never be opinionated. You got to admire everything people do. I was telling my wife the other day, we have yard waste. Okay, people who collect our yard waste like every 2 weeks, all my big garden, all the cut leaves and so on. These people do hard work. So even when I put the containers out, I make sure they're not too heavy. They still lift, but I know if I lift a little thing, my back starts hurting, although I'm in decent shape. So one day I was waiting for the guy to come and I gave him a bottle of wine. You could see the smile in his face, priceless. Because I don't bring down anyone who doesn't give wine. You can give anything you like donuts, that's fine with me. But that's the kind of thing that makes me happy, right? And of course, people who have big egos, I'm fine with them. Now, a hospital CEO and big politicians, they have egos. Without ego, they can't function, right?
Right. Yeah, okay. Maybe I'll take 3 more questions and then I suppose we can go to a closure. So
Yeah.
there is this question. Sometimes it is very difficult and stressful to work with individuals who are never stressed about anything and are also laid back. They add to my stress. Any suggestions about how to best deal with that situation?
Yeah, that can be. Remember, I told you thing about who are complaining all the time. Some people in my talk. This is the extreme opposite of that. I take my hat off, right? Although I told you I try not to get angry. Occasionally, some patient might make me a little angry, but hey, I told my secretary good advice. If you are angry with any patient, don't show it. Okay? Smile, even a fake smile. You tell me later and we'll fire the patient nicely because we don't want bad apples, right? There are some of my colleagues, I'm so impressed, long time ago when I used to work in the hospital, there might be a patient who is screaming or violent. They look like as if nothing is upsetting them. It makes me also upset because I say, how this man does it, right? So yes, and then it's troublesome because you go to work with all kinds of worries. You are sick kid and some bank payment, and you go and look at this guy. He's looking so relaxed as if nothing bothers him. Yeah, it's a personality, genetic thing, and of course we get all kinds of people in the workplace. But that's the way life is.
Okay. Probably the last question. It's a fairly lengthy writing, so I'll just summarize it. In the gist of it is that taking statins is good or bad?
So again, there are all kinds of answers that one can give. So remember I told you that again, I am not a disclaimer, I'm not an endocrinologist or a statin expert, but guess what? My friend Nimal is also expert. Statins talk has been going on for the last 50, 70 years. Still we are not 100% sure about the whole deal. All we know is maintain the weight, take an adequate diet, stop snacking. If someone wants to be a vegan, that's fine with me, but I eat meat and fish and all that stuff, but keep the balance right. So the story of statins is overblown, but if you try to maintain your lifestyle, You still have statins. By the way, you can get high statins from genes too. So you can be thin and you can still have cholesterol. Yes, I would not have any problem taking statins as long as you keep a check on your liver functions, because really it can affect your liver. So if once a year is important to get your liver functions done. In fact, these things didn't become the most popular pills in the world for nothing. If you look at all the countries, doesn't matter, Japan, India, some countries where you think people are very healthy like Japan, what are the most popular things people take? Something like for sugar, old pill metformin, a statin, blood pressure pill. Remember, those 3 pills are like God's gift. As long as you keep yourself monitored, I had no problem with anyone taking any medication because it helps you. So even if you're a lifestyle person who don't want to take meds, that's cool. But then if the science shows that it can help you, I'll go for it. So the answer is yes. If you have high cholesterol, it doesn't go down. You try all other avenues. Will I take a statin? 100% yes.
Thank you, Lal. And there are so many messages saying that your presentation was wonderful and it was full of facts and it was presented in a very, very effective way. There are so many messages like that. So I'm not going to read all of those. And so we just, I think, come to a conclusion of this super, very effective, although it's simple, but it's so effective presentation. Dr. Lal Fernando, thank you so much for taking us through that, whole lot of...
Can I tell you one quick thing?
Yes.
Thank you so much. You know what? People from Sri Lanka, England, and other places, they send all these messages, right? And your committee took so much effort and time. And this Zoom thing is kind of like gift from somewhere for all of us. But I rather do things physically when you see people, right? Because I'm very uncomfortable talking non-stop for about 40 minutes. That's not my style. Even when I do presentations, 20 minutes, take questions, then start again. So this was unusual for me. The topic is so vast, but I did my best to make sure that we get the message across. And thank you very much from people all over the world. And of course, we'll connect down the road. We hope we can connect with them soon. And also be safe with the virus, because that's pretty infective. Only so much we can do. Again, I firmly believe we should open up. So I see my office in the last 2 months. My grandchild goes to school. We go to a restaurant here and there. We go here and there, but we have to be careful. If you keep on lockdown forever, that's not going to help. And we don't have an end point. Look at Europe, it's going up and down. So thanks again, folks, and thanks for the participation.
Thank you so much, Lal. And so on behalf of the association, we are very thankful to you and spending this time with us amidst your busy schedule. And also let me thank all the participants. All of them have showed immense interest throughout your presentation. I think it's about nearly 85 participants joined. And I think we noted only about 5 or 6 participants dropped off, maybe because of time reasons or personal other issues. So everybody else stuck to the presentation, which shows the importance and interest of your facts and your presentation. So thank you very much for all the participants from all over the world who joined with us. And also I want to thank the organizers of this, particularly Deepani and Manoj were very, very helpful in putting all the IT work and technology together. And also our EC members, they were helpful in various ways, giving ideas and always supporting us, verifying our ideas. So thank you very much for all the EC members. And finally, I would also like to join Nimal in thanking Mr. Sarath Amarakon for his generous sponsorship from his company, MIT Group. So we will be having this kind of webinars, a couple of more webinars during this time. And I saw a couple of messages coming onto the screen asking Lal to come again. and talk of various other topics which are of same interest. So I'm sure he will join us, and we will see how best we could organize a couple of things like this. So it's a great pleasure having all of you today. And I think we will, with this little message, we will conclude and see you, all of you again. And thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you.